Integrity is always a tricky one, but you might think it is about being honest or doing the right thing, keeping your word, for example. And sure, that's part of it. But real integrity is about ownership of yourself. It's about knowing your past, very important. Knowing your triggers, why you're being triggered. Knowing what's yours and what you picked up from other people in your surroundings or past, and having the courage to stand in your truth even when everyone around you disagrees. There is a lack of integrity all over, lack in knowing yourself without all the noise. You might think you do, but really most of us are just following the rules, the surroundings, doing what we're supposed to do, being who we're supposed to be. That's not integrity. That's compliance. Real integrity, it's rare, it's uncomfortable, it makes other people uneasy because you're not performing, you're not people-pleasing, you're not changing based on who's in the room. It's actually a very lonely path. You're just you, fully, completely, without apology at all. And in a world where everyone is performing, where everyone is seeking approval, where everyone is trying to fit in, integrity is your superpower. So let's talk about what real integrity actually looks like. I'm going to show you why many leaders don't have it, and I'm going to give you actionable steps to build it. So you can walk into any room, any boardroom, any meeting and hold your space without needing anyone's validation. The fact is, when you have integrity, people feel it. They immediately trust you and they follow you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. So let's go. Real is important. So let's start by redefining integrity, because often it's incomplete. Most people think integrity means being honest, keeping your promises, doing what you say you'll do, following through, and yes, all of those are super important, but that's surface level often integrity. Real one goes much deeper. Real integrity is ownership of you. It means you know your past, you're entangled, what's yours and what's not yours. You've gone through every single belief system and figured out what you actually believe in. You know what you stand for. You know your true values. You know your boundaries, and you hold your space no matter who's in the room. So integrity means you have healthy boundaries, but still are willing to listen to your surroundings. And this is important. And evaluate it. And then make up your own opinion. You're not rigid. You're not afraid of losing your opinion and ideas. You're not closed off. You're open to new information. But you're grounded in who you are. You listen more than you talk, because talk is usually based on holding on to your truth and showing up for who you think you are, voiding your opinions so you can be validated. But integrity doesn't need validation. You hold your own space for whatever belief system or ideas you have. You walk into a boardroom, someone challenges your idea, and instead of getting defensive, instead of needing to prove yourself, you just listen. You consider it, and then you respond from your truth. Not from your wound, not from the need to be right, from your truth. That is integrity. Or if somebody asks you to do something that doesn't align with your values, and instead of saying yes to keep the peace, instead of abandoning yourself to be liked, you say no, clearly, without over-explaining. That's integrity. Or you have an idea that goes against the norm, and instead of staying quiet because you're afraid of judgment, you speak up, you share it, you stand by it. That's integrity. Integrity is also about coming up with new ideas, not in fear of how the reaction will be, but to evolve, to be innovative, to create something new that hasn't been done yet. Everyone can have integrity. You're actually born with it. It's part of who you originally were. When you walk into a room with integrity, people immediately trust you. They immediately listen. Not because you're loud or impressive or perfect, but because you are grounded. You're present, you're real. And in a world full of performance, real stands out and always will. So if integrity is so powerful, why don't more people have it? Because building integrity requires you to do the work that most people avoid. Let me break it down. To have integrity, you need to know your past, like I said. You can't have integrity if you don't know where you came from and you don't know what shaped you. If you don't know what wounds you're carrying, leaders and people in general skip this part. They think the past doesn't matter. They think they can't just move forward without looking back. But your past is actually running your present and will run your future if you don't figure it out. So your triggers are running your decisions, your unhealed wounds are running your leadership, and until you go back and untangle that, you don't have full access to who you are. More a performance and patterns based on old information given to you. Untangle what's yours and what's not yours. You need to separate your voice from the voices you've internalized. What do you actually believe? What are your actually values? What are your actually opinion? Or are you just repeating what your parents taught you? What society expects? What the industry says is right? Very many leaders and people in general have never done this work. They think their beliefs are their own. But really, they're just following the blueprint they were given. And that's not integrity. That's conditioning. Be willing to stand alone. Integrity means you're willing to be the only one in the room with your own opinion. You're willing to make people uncomfortable, and you're willing to be misunderstood. You're willing to not be liked, and most people are not willing to do that. Because standing alone is scary. Being different is risky. Making people uncomfortable feels wrong. So they conform. They perform, they say what people want to hear, create ideas within the comfort zone. That is not innovation. And they lose their integrity in the process. So the bottom line here is most leaders don't have the integrity because they're too afraid to do the inner work. They're too afraid to face their past. They're too afraid to stand alone. So they keep performing. They people please. They change based on who's in the room. And people can feel it. Subconsciously, they know something is off. They don't fully trust it. That's why some leaders can say all the right things and not inspire loyalty because their words don't match their energy. Their message doesn't match the presence. There's no real integrity. So let me show you what the consequences are when you don't have that within you. People don't fully trust you. They might comply with you. They might do what you say, but they don't really trust you. Because on a subconscious level, they can feel you're not being real. They can feel you're performing. They can feel the dissonance between your words and your energy. And without that trust, you lead halfway. You can only manage. You can't make clear decisions when you don't have it. Every decision is a struggle because you're not grounded in your values. You're not clear on what you stand for. So you waffle. You ask everyone else's opinion. You change your mind based on who you're talking to, what the expectations are, and the indecisions. It's exhausting for you and for everyone around you. You can't innovate. Innovation requires you to think differently, to challenge the norm, to stand behind ideas that might not be popular. But if you don't have integrity, you can't do that because you're too worried about what people might think. You're too afraid of being wrong, so you play it safe instead. You follow the common blueprint. You do what's been done before with a twist. but it will not amount to excellency. And you wonder why your business, your leadership, your life feels stagnant? You lose yourself. This is the biggest issue. When you don't have integrity, you become whomever the room needs you to be. Your opinions shift, your values changes, your voice disappears, and eventually you don't even know who you are anymore. You spent so long performing, so long people pleasing, so long trying to fit in that you lost touch with your own truth. And that is a real tragedy, because we need you. Because your truth, your voice, your unique perspective, that's what the world needs from you. Not another performance, not another bleak copy. You. Okay, so now you've understood what integrity really is, and I'm sure you did before. But you understand why very many leaders don't have it. You understand that it breaks you in the long run. So let's see how you can retrieve it and build it. Remember, you were born with it. And I'm going to be straight with you. This is deep work. This is uncomfortable work. This requires you to face things you've been avoiding. But it's the most important work you will ever do. So, 1, know your past. You can't have integrity if you don't know where you came from. So go back. Look at your childhood, look at the message you received about who you're supposed to be, and ask yourself, what did I learn about success? What did I learn about speaking up? What did I learn about being a woman in leadership? What did I learn about my worth, self-worth? What did I learn about trusting my own voice and ideas? Write it all down. Don't judge it, just see it clearly. Why this works? Always, you can't untangle what you can't see. Once you identify the conditioning, you can separate it from your truth. So do this today. Spend 15 minutes journaling on this question. What message did I receive about who I was supposed to be? 2, untangle what's yours and what's not yours. Now look at what you wrote and ask, is this actually true? Is this actually mine? Or is it just what I was taught? For example, I have to be nice to be liked. Is that true? Or is that conditioning? I can't be too confident. Is that your belief system? Or is that what society taught you to be or to believe? I have to have all the answer. Is that true? Or is that what you learned? I have to comply with everyone else's opinion. Is that true? Or is that what I have been taught? You're reclaiming your power. You're really realizing that most of what you believe isn't actually yours. And once you see that, you can choose differently. So today, pick one belief from your list. Ask, is this mine or is it not? Right? I release it. It's not mine. And define your values. Integrity requires you to know what you stand for. So get clear on your values. Not the values you think you should have, the values that you're actually true for you. Ask yourself, what matters most to me? What am I willing to stand alone for? What am I not willing to compromise on? What is my vision? Super important. Write down your top 5 values. These are non-negotiables. When you're clear on your values, decisions becomes easier. You have a compass. You know what's aligned and what's not. So write down on your top 5 values, put them somewhere you can see them every single day. They will be your guidelines. Practice holding your space. Integrity means you hold space no matter who's in the room. So start the practice. Here's how. The next time you're in a meeting and someone challenges your idea, don't immediately defend yourself. Don't immediately change your opinion. Pause, breathe, and say, that's an interesting perspective. Let me think about that. Then actually think about it, evaluate it, and respond from your truth. Not from your need to be right, not from fear of being wrong, not from what is needed from you, from your truth. You're training yourself to stay in your own two shoes, to not react from your wound, but to hold your own space. So, continue. Identify one situation where you usually abandon yourself. Practice holding your space instead. Stop over-explaining yourself. People with integrity don't need to justify their choices. So stop over-explaining. Do this instead. That doesn't work for me. Full stop. No explanation. I'm going to do it this way. No explanations, no defense. No full stop. When you stop over-explaining, you stop seeking permission. You start trusting that your choices are valid simply because they're yours. So notice when you're about to over-explain. Stop yourself. Give the simple answer. Sit with the discomfort. Just say, no, thank you, or this doesn't work for me. Be willing to stand alone. And this is the hardest one. Integrity means you're willing to be the only one in the room with your opinion. You're willing to make people uncomfortable. You're willing to be misunderstood. So the practice here is think of an idea you have that goes against the norm. One belief that differs from everyone around you, and share it. In a meeting, in a conversations, on your platform, not aggressively, not defensively, just clearly. So every time you stand alone, you build integrity. You prove to yourself that you can survive being different, being you, accepting all of you. Identify one idea you've been afraid to share. Share it this week. I promise you it's going to be worth it. Let your action match your words. Integrity is all about alignment. Your words, your energy, your actions, they all need to match. So before you speak, check in with yourself. Do I actually believe this? Does this feel true in my body? Am I willing to back this up with my actions? If the answer is no, do not do it. When your actions match your words, people trust you. They feel the alignment. They know you're real. So pay attention to the alignment between what you say and what you do, and notice where there's a dissonance. Adjust, adjust, and adjust. This happens when you build real integrity. You walk into a room and people feel it. They trust you immediately, not because you're impressive, but because you are standing in your own two shoes. You recognize this when you see others that have integrity walk into a room as well. You feel attracted. You feel the draw towards them. They have this power within that feels magnetic. So when you're fully in yourself, you make decisions quickly and clearly because you know your values. You know what you stand for. You don't need approval. You know your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. You can handle disagreement. You can listen to opposing views without getting defensive because you're secure in your own value. You inspire to loyalty. People follow you not because they have to, but because they want to, because they trust you. You innovate, you create, you lead, you inspire, not from fear, but from your power. You come home to yourself, who you always were supposed to be, without anyone else's input. You're not performing anymore, you're just you, fully, completely, without apology. And that's freedom. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one step from today, just one. Maybe you journal about your past, untangle one belief that's not yours, define your top 5 values, practice holding space in one situation, stop over-explaining one decision. Share one idea you've been afraid to share. Align your actions with your words. Just one. and see what shifts. Integrity is ownership of yourself. And when you own yourself, no one can shake you. You don't need boundaries for the sake of boundaries because you're grounded in exactly who you are. You don't need validation because you trust yourself. You don't need to perform because you're secure in your truth. That is integrity. That's pure power. And that is leadership. If this resonated, subscribe to the channel. I'm here to help you build the kind of integrity that can't be shaken. Because, remember, you have all the answers within you. You just need the courage to stand in them. So I'll see you next week.